Are you feeling overwhelmed by the chaos of running your agency? Well, you're not alone. Running an agency is a task in itself, but without the right systems in place, it's really easy for things to spiral out of control. But what if I told you there's actually a way to transform your agency's operations into a well-oiled machine? In today's video, you're in for a treat. I am going to give you a comprehensive video tutorial that's the ultimate guide to systematize your agency. Whether you've recently moved into an agency model or you're looking to scale your existing agency, having the right systems in place is crucial for your success. Processes that may have worked for you before just aren't going to cut it anymore. Things are going to start to break if they haven't already, and it's time to take control of it now. From client onboarding to project and team management and everything in between, I'm going to cover the essential steps to create efficient, repeatable processes that will save you time, reduce stress, and allow your agency to thrive. So if you're ready to transform the way your agency operates, go ahead and hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's dive in. So this video is going to be a little different than my norm. There's so much information in here that I actually created some slides to go through some of the key things. A lot of the actual tutorial piece and showing you what these systems look like and what systems we use at DeSilva Life, they're going to be inside the actual systems, like my regular videos. But I'm also going to provide you with a Google Doc template, which I'll showcase in a second, that is also going to help you really keep all this information organized and help you through the brainstorming process as well. Bottom line, I want to set you guys up for success to make sure that this is the least overwhelming as possible. Okay, so let's dive in to the 5 steps to systematize your entire agency. So the first step is going to be understanding the importance of systems. Why do you even need systems in your agency if you want to scale? Step number 2 is to decide on your key areas that you need to systematize. So prioritizing what's the most important. Step 3 is how to efficiently create your systems. So now that you know what you have to systematize, how can we systematize it as seamlessly and as fast as possible? Step number 4 is going to be implementing and testing your systems. So rolling this out to your team, making sure they're set up for success, and having a plan in place to make adjustments as needed, because 99% of the time there will be adjustments. And then step number 5, making sure that you're set up for long-term success and maintenance. So let's dive in to the first step, which is understanding the importance for systems. And I promise I will try and be as efficient as possible with this training, because I know we are all agency owners here and our time is limited. So why do you even need to build systems in your agency anyway? Why are you watching this video? Why am I creating this video for you? Because systems are what keep everything in your agency running smoothly and efficiently. They're absolutely necessary to scale your agency. You may have gotten to where you are without systems or subpar systems, but to get where you want to go, I promise you, you are going to need to make sure that everything is running as smooth as possible. So the benefits of having systems, obviously tasks are going to get done faster and more accurately. There's going to be less stress and fewer mistakes, and your team is going to know what to do and when. Goals, right? But without systems, you might be facing chaos and confusion, missed tasks, deadlines, and handoffs. It's going to make it really hard for you to scale your company, also give you a ton of headaches. So the impact of missing systems is constantly figuring out tasks, right? This is going to frustrate your team and make growth so much harder than it needs to be. But systems bring consistency, right? They ensure work is done consistently every time across the team, done well, done right. So that's the importance of systems, right? So now that we know the importance of systems, it is time to decide on your key areas that you need to actually systematize. So there are 4 key areas to systematize: client journey, project management and fulfillment, communication, and reporting and tracking KPIs. I'm now going to go ahead and I'm going to go through each one of these: client journey, project management, fulfillment, communication, reporting and tracking KPIs. I want to show you different examples in the systems that we actually use at our agency and how this can be done right. But I also want to dive into the Google Doc real quick to show you just some deeper examples. Yes, these are the 4 main areas of your agency, but let's talk about getting a little bit more granular with these. So here we are in the Ultimate Guide to Systematize Your Agency doc. This is just a pretty simple doc where I've pulled in the resources and information from this training video, and then also like a place where you can break down actually mapping out your process. We're going to get there later on in this video, but just showing you this may look a tad bit different. I don't know, I might add some more resources in here, but you'll see at the top are going to be resources showing you like where you can contact us or downloading this free template. Again, there might be a couple other things I add in here by the time I'm done filming this video. Then we have the 5 steps to systematize your agency, like I just mentioned. And then you're going to choose the key areas to systematize. So here, like I mentioned, here are the top 4: client journey, project management and fulfillment, communication, reporting and tracking KPIs. And then more specifically, I broke down some key examples in the categories of marketing, sales, operations, project management, team management, client management, right? Some of these might apply to you, some of them might not apply to you. I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Remember, Rome was not built in a day. You are not going to systematize your entire agency overnight. It's going to be a process. Take it one step at a time with what is the most important. So we're going to get there in a second, talking about prioritizing the systems you need to create. But let me actually show you some tangible examples of what these look like when they're systematized. Now, I'm going to show you inside our actual systems. You do not have to use these specific tools. We love them, but every tool is different. So if you are already using these tools, like a project management tool or a CRM, feel free to apply everything from this video with the lens of those tools. I'm going to go through and show you the tools that we use just to give that tangible, visible example. So let's start with our systematized client journey. I'm going to show you inside our CRM HoneyBook that we love. I'll show you the client journey in that lens, and then I'll show you how you can also map this out in a project management tool. Okay, so here we are in our CRM. There's a lot going on here. If you're interested in learning more about HoneyBook, we have other videos on our channel that go through what it is, how to use it, all that good stuff. But let's talk about the lens of, an inquiry for someone inquires about a HoneyBook setup at our agency. We then want to map out this client journey. We want to make it as efficient as possible. We want to give that lead the information that they need right away. So when they inquire through our contact form on our website and they fill in their information and they say that they are interested in a HoneyBook setup, then this automation is going to trigger. It's then going to send them our HoneyBook services brochure with this canned email. That brochure has all the information about the project, how the price point, who's involved, et cetera, and how they could book a call with us. Then if they don't respond, we're prompted to send a series of follow-up emails. But if they do end up booking a call, you can see we have a ton of follow-up, then we'll go ahead and it will move the stage to booked call and we'll actually delete the automation so we don't get prompted to send any more follow-ups. So that's an example of just the inquiry portion of our client journey. Now, once we actually send them a proposal, send the follow-ups, etc., once they end up booking and paying, we'll have the same type of flow where it sends them a welcome email and then it kicks off with everything that we need to do. Now, that actual process, I've gone ahead and brainstormed here, so we'll get there in a second. But as you can see, that is how we have the client journey for inquiry just for our HoneyBook setups systematized and as automated as possible inside our CRM. Now, what happens when they actually book? Obviously, they're going to get a welcome email and then our team takes over and it's time to set up the project management piece of the client journey. So that's where we then step into our project management tool ClickUp and we set up this list, right? We typically kick off on Tuesdays or Thursdays. We have an entire list mapped out with timelines. Typically these have due dates on them, who's responsible for what, and then we'll start cranking through, okay, the onboarding checklist leading up to the kickoff call. Here are all the deliverables that we have to create, all of the project wrap up and training, etc., right? So again, I did not build this overnight. This is something that has been iterated and reiterated for years now. But the key is you can see that it's not just all in our brain. It's not just in a random Google Doc somewhere. You can see how this client journey for this specific project type is mapped out from inquiry to nurturing that lead to booking to fulfilling that actual project. So that is the client journey piece. Then we want to move on to project management and fulfillment. So now I've hopped into our favorite project management tool, ClickUp. What I'm going to show you, there are going to be some simple things, there are going to be some robust things. So with ClickUp, what's so cool about it is it can grow with you. So whether you're using it already or you have another project management tool and you want to just take things to the next level, you can absolutely use ClickUp. We'll also have our link in the description if you want to sign up. So here, everything has a very strategic order and place. We've worked with hundreds of agencies to systematize their workflows, so we know generally what works for 80 to 90% of agencies. Of course, yours are going to be different, so that does need to be customized to you. But when we're thinking of project management, you're thinking about project management for all of the key areas, like all of this stuff we talked about, right? Sales, marketing efforts, internal projects, launches, new offer creation, etc. So you want to make sure that all of this is streamlined into a system. And again, the cool thing about this process, right, about systematizing your entire agency is it's a process, and you can actually do this while you're actively working on the things, right? So you don't have to sit down for a week or a Saturday or whatever it is and be like, okay, now I'm going to systematize Instagram management. You can actually do this and bring your team on board to do this all together while you're actually going through all of these processes in real time, which is the easiest way to do it because you're actively doing it. So, for example, if you think of project management, right, in fulfillment, let me pull up our project management template. So this is actually the free template that is linked in the top of this doc. That gives you a great template to start working on if you have a project that has, a start and end date and clear deliverables throughout the process. Now, something that we hear so often from clients, from students, from different people is, well, my process, we do this specific thing, whether it's for a client or internal, and it's different every time. Well, same. Not every single project is copy paste. Of course, there are some that have a much more clear system and process than others. But what's great about this is start with the bare bones. Every single project, you're going to have to do some project prep. You're going to have to create project milestones, create a timeline, break down the actionable steps, present it to the client, et cetera, right? So take this as a sample and be like, what are the things we do every single time? Who's doing it? When does it have to happen? Do we track priorities? Do we add time estimates to it, et cetera? And this is where you're going to be able to see you're looking at a project at a glance, the overview from start to finish. That is so helpful. So you can get a pulse check on this project, whether it's you or the project manager or account manager. Having everything clear and laid out is going to be a game changer. So you're going to want to map out things like this. You can also have projects more in like a pipeline style when you're systematizing your agency. So project management for Instagram is going to look a lot different than a client project or a new initiative or quarterly goals because it's ongoing, right? So when I come into marketing and PR, you're going to see that this now it's just an ongoing pipeline. Every single piece of content is going to have to be created, filmed, edited, scheduled, published, etc. And we'll have different assets and custom fields for this process than we do for a client fulfillment project, as an example. So those are just a couple examples of project management. Then also task management, just having a place where you can have team tasks, where you can use this as like a brain dump and just put things in here that have to get done, or you can go into another team member's list. Just having a simple list with to do and progress complete that they're assigned, they have due dates on it, etc., is going to make the world of a difference. Now, I can see your wheels turning right now of being like, okay, that's great, but there's a lot going on here. I don't want to overwhelm my team. This is where you want to set them up for success, right? So there are key ways in ClickUp that you can avoid that overwhelm by doing things like, for example, creating an everything view calendar for them so they can see just what they have to do, or creating a team member dashboard where they can see, okay, here's what's due today, here's what's overdue, here's what's coming up this week, etc. So I wanted to show you some visual examples about what project management can look like in ClickUp, but then also bring it all together and be like, okay, but you could have a simple place for you and your team just to see what you need to focus on. The third main thing that you want to systematize in your agency is communication. This can be communication with your team. This can be communication with your clients. You want to make sure there are clear places that you're communicating. This could be within email. This could be within Slack or another messaging tool. This could be within ClickUp itself. You want to have clear boundaries of where the information is going back and forth so you always know where to find things. Things aren't getting lost, and then you're not duplicating information in multiple places, right? So our favorite ways to communicate with our team, especially, is within ClickUp itself. So say that we're working on this Instagram pipeline or that project that I mentioned, I can come right into here and then actually comment in here and be like, at Nina, how is this coming along? Right? And so all of our communication, or if the team member has a question about this specific task, they can ask right in here, and then all of these notifications are going to funnel into our inbox, just like you have an email inbox. So I love the inbox feature. It's super sleek. It's super easy. You can just come right into here. See, this says like, hi, Christy Da Silva. This is ready for review. I can come in here, reply directly to it, and then mark this as cleared, right? So communicating in ClickUp is key. Then we also use Slack, and I'll give you a little peek into what our Slack looks like. Okay, so here you can see I minimized external connections and client channels so that I'm not giving away sensitive information and direct messages. But here is where we are communicating with most of our clients. Actually, for different clients, we do different things. Like for our HoneyBook setups, we communicate with them via email. For ClickUp setups, we communicate via Slack because we have done trial and error for these, and bringing the HoneyBook users into Slack, 90% of them don't use Slack, where the ClickUp users, 90% of them do. So it's also something that, again, your systems and systematizing your agency is going to be trial and error. It is not going to be perfect on the first try. So you're going to have to say, okay, what makes it most efficient for me and my team, etc. So then we have different channels and groups. I forget exactly what they're called in Slack. And so we have the client channels, like I mentioned, subcontractors, automated updates, DL team. And so here, I guess they are, right? Okay, so these are called channels. And then these are called sections. So this is actually not universal. Every single person on the team has to set up their own section. So I also created a Loom video showing our team members how to do this so everyone could stay organized. But this way, it's keeping communication sleek, organized. We also have automated updates where Zapier, our integration tool, is taking information and bringing it to Slack, like if we're having any errors, if new projects are booked, if we have a new member in system school, etc. So there's a lot when it comes to streamlining communication, but bottom line is you want to make sure that it's clear. Here's where we communicate about XYZ. Here's where we communicate with clients. Here's how we update information and communicate in ClickUp, etc. And then of course there are always times where like we're mainly communicating in ClickUp, but if something's urgent, we'll drop a comment in ClickUp and then take that URL and drop it in Slack and be like, hey, I need an update on this. It's urgent, etc. So there are definitely, lines and things that you can go through and be like, okay, in this circumstance, we could bend it a little bit. But I hope that brings a little bit of clarity to creating a clear communication system. I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but it's somewhere that you do need to create firm lines. So the next thing and last thing we'll talk about on this topic of the 4 key areas is KPI reporting. So as an agency owner, you know that staying on top of your team is a task. Whether it is you staying on top of your team or you have project managers or operations directors, whoever it is, you want to make sure that whoever needs to be on top of the team has the insight to do so. So in our project management tool, you can do things like create dashboards. This is actually a sample dashboard that ClickUp provides for you. You can always create it. Let me actually just show you by going to the dashboard section, clicking on new dashboard, and then you can do this team reporting dashboard. I'm going to select all locations and then create. So here you can see the power that this has. You can see how many tasks are outstanding, how many tasks are assigned by assignee, right? We have 2,000 unassigned. Obviously, this is our training workspace, so it's not accurate, but you could see, okay, who's working on what this week, who's behind with inbox, unread notifications, overdue tasks, etc. So you want to make sure that you have a place to be able to see and get that pulse check on your team, who's behind, who's overloaded, who doesn't have enough, etc. Then the last example I want to show you is think of KPI and metric reporting even in terms of how the business is doing and the health of the business. So you can do things like in our project management tool, collect sales data, right? So you can see in this demo dashboard, this is actually our sales tracker that is automated through Zapier. This is the sample one clearly. And this will show you that you can see, how much have we brought in this month, gross, net, this year, all time by platform, etc. So thinking of the data in your business, how do we actually develop these things? Again, we're going to go into that process very shortly of actually systematizing it. But when you're thinking of, what do I even need to systematize? You will have that feeling of what is a bottleneck that we're facing, right? When we created this sales dashboard, it was, I want to have my numbers at my fingertips like that whenever I want them. I don't want to have to go into QuickBooks and pull reports and this, that, make sure that every single thing is updated, whatever. I want to just go in, especially because we have different payment processors, right? So some of the pushback I might get from this specific portion is, well, my CRM could do that. Then keep it in your CRM. We've only created this because we use different platforms. We use Stripe, we use HoneyBook, we use PayPal. So we wanted to make sure all of that data was funneling into one place. But if you only have one type of offer, use one payment processor, then by all means, use the reporting in there, right? I want to show you these key examples so you can understand the different things that you need to systematize. But if some of your platforms have this natively, 100% use that platform. So those are 2 examples of how you can track and manage reporting and KPIs in terms of team performance and in terms of company performance like revenue tracking. So now we move on to step 3, how to efficiently create your systems. So now that you have identified the key areas that you need to systematize and you have that list in that Google Doc, we now want to decide where we're going to start, right? That can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be as hard as you think it is. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to identify the pain points. You're going to think, what is causing the most stress in your agency? You want to look for disruptions in workflows or bottlenecks, and you want to say, okay, what are your immediate goals? Maybe that is increasing client satisfaction. Then you're going to want to make sure you're working on your client onboarding and fulfillment. Maybe your biggest pain point right now is that you're not making enough sales. So you need to work on both your marketing efforts and you need to work on your sales tracking and management, follow-up and lead process, right? So you want to think of your immediate goals and then you want to think, okay, what do I need to work on to make sure that I have insight into this and the team is performing at their best. Maybe it's your team. Maybe it's hiring and onboarding. You feel like you can't keep good help, but you can't continue growing without help. So now let's dive into the Google Doc where we're going to go through the process of actually creating these systems and brainstorming them together. So back into the Google Doc, how can you efficiently create these systems? We've actually created 2 things that you can actually use as like a workbook in here. If you want to do this on pen and paper, if you want to do it in whiteboard fashion, if you want to do it in a Google Sheet, whatever floats your boat, this is just an example here. There's really no right or wrong way to do this process. Obviously, using tools and, templates to work off of will be easier. But if you look at all those people with all those like millions of mind maps and workflows and things like that and Miro whiteboards, don't feel like you need that. You can absolutely use something as simple as a Google Doc. Okay, so first you're going to think of all these items here, right? You're going to look at the key areas that you have to systematize. If there are ones here that are not mentioned, you can also add them. And then you're going to write in here, okay, what do I need to systematize in the next month, in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and after the next year, right? So also every single system is going to take a different amount of time, right? So systematizing your inbox management is going to take a heck of a lot quicker than systematizing your client fulfillment workflow. So you also have to take that into account, and it might not make sense. Like I mentioned, you're thinking of your biggest goals and pain points and you're tackling that first. You might want to systematize the low-hanging fruit, but you might get stuck in that and that like fake productivity because you feel good checking things off your list, but other things are like on fire. So systematize and take care of the things that are on fire and then move through your checklist. So here you can just simply copy and paste the different things into here just so you have a list of like, here are the things that I need to work on in the next month, 3 months, etc. Okay, so that's that section. Now let's go through the actual process brainstorm. So once you have the systems that you're going to start working on, then you want to start mapping them out like so. So there are 3 main things here. You're obviously going to fill out this preliminary information, but then who, what, when. That's it. Those are the 3 keys to systematizing your entire business. What needs to happen? Who is doing it? When does it happen? Okay. There are going to be some more details that we're going to fill in here, but that is the core of this process. So going through, I'm going to start with the blank, and then I'm actually going to go through and show you this example of it mapped out because I don't know about you, but I learn by example best. And I'm like, okay, the template's great, but can I see an example of someone filling it in? So here you're actually going to put what this process is, right? So maybe it's client onboarding. You can copy and paste this whole entire thing. And then you can paste it again for however many processes you want to create. You can also duplicate this and have one process on every single Google Doc, whatever floats your boat. So then you're going to fill out the process description, the occurrence. Does this happen daily, weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, yearly, quarterly, etc.? Or is it on demand? Every time, for example, we get a new client, we have to do the client onboarding process. Then who are the team members involved? What are the softwares involved? What are the assets needed? What documentation is needed? What are the areas to automate? And then when do I need to update and evaluate this process? You can always edit these drop downs as well in your specific template. So then after you do that preliminary information, you're then going to go through the steps of give a crack at this. You could even do it and fill this out while you're actually doing that process, like I mentioned. But again, don't feel that pressure to do every single thing perfect on the first try. You will most likely miss details or these things will need to be updated. So give it your best shot and go through, okay, what needs to happen first, second, third, etc. Who is doing that thing? When does that happen? And is this automated? Yes or no? So now that I've gone through the blank, let's go ahead and I'll show you my example. So here we have our client onboarding for that HoneyBook setup as an example. So these are all the steps that we need to onboard the client and prep the team for an upcoming project. This occurs on demand, and here are the team members involved in just the onboarding process. Me, the CEO, Andrea, our project manager, and Fernanda, our executive assistant. Here are the softwares involved: HoneyBook, Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Dropbox. Here are the assets needed: the client folder, which has these 3 assets, canned emails to send to the client, the ClickUp list template that I showed you that Andrea uploads once a new client books, and then Zapier integrations to automate. Documentation needed, we need to create SOP video tutorials for our team on how to do each step in the process. Areas to automate. Now, this for us, these are already automated, but as you're mapping this out, there may be pieces that you're like, this is not currently automated, but we can automate this and we should. So in this case, folder and document creation, and then the remapping of the due dates for the upcoming project. Update, we update this yearly. At the end of every year, we have a team call with the group of people that's involved in each process, and we go through, okay, what needs to be updated for this specific process. Could we do it a little more often? I would say like every 6 months would probably be most ideal. Right now, we're in a season where we're doing it yearly, and that's enough for us. So then what are the steps? When the first payment is made, then we're going to send the welcome email. HoneyBook is going to send it, and yes, this is automated. Then also, it's going to create, Zapier is going to create the client folder with assets. That is automated. And then everything after that is not automated. This process takes about, I would say, maybe 30, 45 minutes total of the whole team to complete. So then you can see everything else that happens. Creating the ClickUp project management list, completing the onboarding checklist. You can also see how I map this out because completing the onboarding checklist is like a task with subtasks underneath. So here's the subtasks 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, etc. So here are all the things that have to happen to onboard the client. And then finally, step number 5 is 72 hours before the kickoff call. Andrea is going to check if the onboarding questionnaire was completed. If not, remind the client. I don't feel like I have to go through every single thing here. You guys can feel free to read this as the example to go through it. But as you can see, this is just me mapping out everything that has to happen for this process. After it is mapped out, that is then when we bring it to life in ClickUp. So let me go ahead and show you again what this checklist looks like living and breathing in ClickUp. So literally as I am filming this, my ClickUp updated and it looks a little bit different. So if you're like, my ClickUp doesn't look like that, this literally just happened 2 seconds ago. Anyway, going back to the content is what does this look like in ClickUp? This onboarding process is literally this task with subtasks in here, right? So in here, it's the client onboarding checklist. Then we have the subtask, who's assigned to it, when does this happen? In the actual living, breathing template, this would have all of the assignees and the due dates. When Andrea updates this and uploads this into ClickUp once a new client books, it then remaps all of the due dates and we're good to go. So as you can see, then we also have like pre-kickoff call checklist that would happen leading up to the kickoff call, you know, checking that the client has filled out their onboarding information, reaching out to them if they haven't. So you can see that you need to map out, you know, what has to happen, who's doing what, when it's happening, but it doesn't have to look crazy, right? Now this is all just condensed in this specific list. So I want to mention as well, if you have a project management tool, you can also, instead of mapping it out in a document first, you can map it out in real time in a ClickUp list, in an Asana list, in a Notion board. You don't have to feel like you have to double going through, okay, Google Doc, then put it into ClickUp or your project management tool. That's just a resource if you feel like you need a blank slate to look at instead of feeling overwhelmed by all the features in your project management tool. But that is the process you are going to go through. And for all of the systems that you put here that you need to create, you're going to go through this process of what are the things involved, the team members, the softwares, etc. What are the tasks that are happening? Who is doing them and when do they occur? Is there anything you can automate? And then that is your draft one. Remember, this is a process. Take it day by day, but you're eventually going to crank through. And then also don't be afraid to give ownership of these specific things to your team as well. So if you have project managers or marketing managers, etc., allow them and the team to go through this systematizing process so that they can have ownership because they're the ones doing the actual work, right? So allow them to take ownership of this, but making sure that you have a ClickUp Pro, whether that's someone internally that feels confident in ClickUp, whether that's the DL team that you want to hire to make sure everything looks good and the way that the team set things up is prime. But you want to make sure that things are done in a proper way and mapped in your systems properly. That's a conversation for another day, but this is how you're going to go about that starting process of getting things systematized and organized. So let's wrap up with step 4 and 5, going through how to actually actually train and maintain on these systems. So now we move on to such a key piece of systematizing your agency, if not the most important piece, which is implementing and testing your systems. Systems are not a one and done type of thing. They need to be implemented, tested, revised, etc. So let's go through some tangible steps for you to do just that. So the first thing you want to do is communicate with your team. You want to keep them in the loop as you're developing the processes, implementing the systems, bring them in. You don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, but like I mentioned, feel free to delegate this to the key department heads and the key people that are doing the processes. You don't want to shock anyone or put them off, right? So whether they're in the process actually helping you develop it, or it's coming and they're not a part, make sure that you get them on board, you let them know that change is coming. The next thing is you want to make sure you roll out the changes gradually. Sometimes entire system makeovers can lead to stress. So we actually recommend rolling out new changes slowly and gradually, getting them introduced to ClickUp, having like a personal task list, things like that. This will allow you guys to get used to the new system and make adjustments as needed. Now, if you are transferring, this is, custom to you, right? So if you're transferring from another project management tool, it might make sense to do a full switch so people are not double dipping, but you want to make sure that there's a process. That might even mean like allowing the team to go through the training videos first before like saying, hey, it's your first day, everything's in ClickUp, good luck, right? Next is providing training. This is huge. You want to make sure that you are setting your team up for success. So set up training sessions, send them our YouTube videos, get them a ClickUp course, whatever it may be, give them guides, resources, SOPs, practice sessions, weekly office hours with the team and the tech team to be like, hey, I'm struggling with ClickUp. Here's why. Make sure that you're setting them up for success. And again, giving them resources like an everything view calendar or dashboard so they know where everything is, giving them training, with a team trainings list to make sure that they know exactly what they have to do and where to find that information, where to ask questions. And then lastly, test, measure, improve, repeat. Testing the system before fully implementing them is crucial to ensure that work is going to be smooth and you don't cause any unnecessary disruptions. So, there are also times where you can test and then, you kind of just need that pilot program where you're like, okay, here's the new system. There may be bumps in the road, but make sure you at least give it a couple test runs with some mock clients, mock plans, etc. From our experience, here are some key tips to actually effectively test those new systems. And I promise we're wrapping up here. Thank you so much for sticking with me. The first is start with a pilot run, like I mentioned. Before rolling out the system to the entire team, you can test it with a smaller group or a single project. So we've worked with a lot of teams that were like, we want to just bring our marketing team into ClickUp. After that's shown successful, then we want to move forward with all the other departments. Make sure that you tell the team like, hey, this is a pilot run. Like, please give us your feedback so we can address your pain points and make sure this is working for everyone. Next, check for integration issues. So just make sure that your tools are properly integrated and optimized. Next is establishing clear KPIs. So what does success look like during this testing phase? Whether it's saving time on manual tasks, improving team collaboration, improving, client metrics like client satisfaction. Make sure that you're evaluating the system and being like, what does success mean to us while implementing this new workflow and system? Then number 4, and we only have one more after this, is allow time for adjustments. So give your team enough time to learn and adjust to the new system. Typically, this is about 4 to 6 weeks before making any major changes or decisions. This allows enough time for bugs to surface, for your team to get comfortable. However, if the system is causing major issues from the jump, don't hesitate to make some quick adjustments and change things as you need. But by communicating with your team like, hey, this is happening. This is going to be for the better of the company. This is going to make your life easier. It may feel a little harder in the beginning, but don't worry. It's going to make your life easier. You're going to get them on board. They're going to be willing to give you feedback, and hopefully you'll hear less complaints. No promises. And then lastly, regular check-ins, okay? During the testing phase, even if that's the first 3 to 6 months, make sure you're holding regular team check-ins to get feedback. Are people using the system? Are there workarounds happening? Regular reviews are going to help you identify what's working and what is not. And lastly, step 5 of systematizing your entire agency is making sure that you are set up for long-term success and maintenance. So someone said this the other day, today, and I need to coin this phrase, which is systems are the floor and not the ceiling. When you systematize your entire agency, when you systematize one department, one workflow, it's not one and done. You need to communicate to your team, this system, this process is going to be iterated and reiterated and reiterated. And it may work perfectly for us for 6 to 12 months. And then our team grows, we hire a new person, we change something in that specific offer, and we have to tweak it and change it. So you want to make sure that, you're laying systems are the foundation that you can build upon. And you want to make sure that you are tweaking them and refining them as time goes on. So it's super important to schedule regular reviews of your systems and processes, encourage feedback from your team, make sure that your agency knows that their feedback is necessary to make these systems better, and always be open to evolving and improving on your systems. So like I mentioned a little bit while back, we do this at least one time per year, where with every department and every process, we have a meeting with just that team, and we go through, okay, here are our current processes. Are there any bottlenecks? Do you guys have any ideas for improvement? Have you guys heard things from clients or, see specific things that could be better? And let's work together to fix it. So showing that to your team is going to show them that you're dedicated to helping them. And so that is it. That is the ultimate guide to systematize your agency. I hope that video is helpful for you guys as you are wanting to take your agency to new heights. So that's all I have for you. I know that video is a little bit different today, but I hope you enjoyed and found some value in it. And that's a wrap. You've now uncovered the key steps it takes to systematize your entire agency and take it to the next level. At DeSilva Life, we have helped hundreds of agencies and teams streamline their operations into a well-oiled machine and take their agencies to new heights. If you're ready to implement these same systems and scale your agency with confidence, go ahead and visit desilvalife.com/contact to get in touch with us today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, the best way to support us as we create this free content for you is to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and share these videos with any other agency owners or teams that could benefit from them. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.